I don't think N'Zoth is really dealt with. I think that they made it... I don't mean to be a jerk, but I think they made it really obvious that N'Zoth is not gone. Really obvious. The whole theme of the raid is whether or not you can tell it's an illusion. And whether it's real or not. And so one of the things that I think is super interesting about N'Zoth is that it's kind of like a twofold different kind of interaction. And by that I mean to say, we go down under the ocean where the chains are, we break the prison, this dark black and purple swirly of energy escapes, but it doesn't manifest as an old god. Instead, we go into Nyalotha, which is basically not real, and we witness prophecies and visions shown to us by N'Zoth, and we're gonna have to go through that raid, of course. And N'Zoth is basically just like, yeah, bro, can you be sure that any of this is even real? Or that it's not real? And then you're like, no, I can't. I can't be sure of that, actually. And it becomes, I think, pretty evident that N'Zoth is not gone. I think if we believe that we just up and defeated with N'Zoth, got the one and done dealt with, I think that's... We're kind of missing the point of N'Zoth. Do you think Metzin's The Old Gods Are Dead has any kind of permanence based on their direction? Guys, I think you have to, you have to stop attributing our real life perception of death to the game. Death has so little meaning in this game. Like, one of the main themes that I have tried to reinforce for years is that death is not the end in WoW. So to answer your question, the old gods are very much dead. But so was everyone else that went to the Shadowlands. So what does it really mean? People need to stop trying to separate it. It's the same fucking thing. We killed them, and now they're gone. They do not live, they do not die, they're outside the cycle. How can you kill that which has no life in it? Because because that's not talking about the old gods. Because that quote's not talking about the old gods. They do not live. They do not die. They are outside the cycle. Guys, who doesn't live? Who doesn't die? Who might literally have put themselves outside the cycle? If it's not the Titan Pantheon, it's I know that the first impression is that, oh, it's talking about the old gods. No, they do live. They do die. We kill them. They're part of the cycle. They are in the cycle. You know who didn't seem to act like much of the cycle when they got killed? The Titans. They didn't really seem to adhere to a cycle. Maybe I'm wrong, but they did not appear to adhere to any form of cycle when they died. They only went to where they anchored themselves. Herald Volage, the final boss of An Kahet, the Old Kingdom, has a whisper that says, "They who dine on lost souls know only hunger." Absolutely true. Teron Gorefiend is a fantastic example of this. Teron Gorefiend, who sups his thirst and hunger for power on the souls of the dead in alternate Draenor, transforming into a horrific, not that far from Yogg-Saron looking monster. Gaze into the void. It is the perpetuity in which they dwell. Perpetuity, meaning forever. The infinity. It is the infinity in which they dwell. So this could be talking about old gods. I understand why people think this. Could also think the same thing about old gods. If the old gods have been fed dead souls for a long time, maybe that's why they have transformed into these horrific abominations, because they're consuming the souls of the dead, and as a result, they're not being sated. It's kind of like Galakrond going around and eating up all the proto-drakes and becoming necrotic and all that stuff. It's like he had this insatiable hunger. They drink your fear. It is the blood of life. That's an interesting one. They are the whisper on the shivering wind. They do not die. They do not live. They are outside the cycle. And so again, since all these other quotes can be attributed to old gods, and the fact that this came out with An Kahet back in the day, I do think that all likeliness points to this referring to the old gods. But, as we have been shown, That appears to be incorrect. They do die. They do live. We can slay them. Mortals can come and slay them. We've done it. And then the devs go out and they say, they're dead. They're dead. They're dead. Right? So when I read this and I read they do not die, they do not live, they're outside the cycle, and I think about how the Titans are literally, Titan's seat of the Pantheon is literally sitting on a big chair outside of the immediate space of Azeroth. Literally like watching from the outside. Like, they do not live, they do not die. Again, Argus's memories, it was betrayed, it was bound by something powerful. They used its power to revive their fallen souls. It hurts so much. Its only solace lay within its dream. Some things to think about.